Hey everyone, I'm here doing 2 study days because I have a little bit of a head cold, so it's best that I stay at home and I don't meet anyone. So it's kind of humorous how now we're also going to be afraid of any little sniffle because it's the right thing to do. So I suppose I'm doing a lot of research in the gut and the microbiome, and um, the more I dig, the more I realize that we know so little. And I think sometimes experts are promising that they know the solutions, and I really don't think so. Um, there is no fast track solution. We end up where we are with health problems because we haven't been taking care of ourselves. And it really boils down to us talking about you, your health, your symptoms, listening to what your body is saying and acting from there. And the fix is in looking at your health as this whole story and journey about how you have been taking care of your body, yourself, your emotions these past years and decades. Our health is the result of that, how we feed ourselves, the food that we're buying, the food that's in our cupboards, the food that we put on our plate, how we prepare that food, liquids, what we drink. Is it quality? Or are we drinking lots of fizzy drinks, too much coffee? Is there a lot of sugar and additives going into these things? Are we buying a lot of takeout, cappuccinos, or highly processed drinks? Are we sleeping enough? Is that sleep good quality? Are we moving our bodies appropriately? Are we getting enough of the right type of exercise? The conversations with ourselves. I think this is a key part that too few are exploring. How we speak to our bodies results in how our bodies respond to us. In essence, we're the caretaker of our skins, and most of us have learned to not like ourselves for various reasons. And we take everything out on ourselves, on our bodies. And from the outside, it may not always be that obvious because we see someone who's brilliant at sport or exceptional at pushing themselves through the pain barrier or can do endless amounts of training. But that isn't necessarily coming from a place of love. And our bodies respond to that. Then we're looking at our gut health. We have 90% of our genetics in our gut. We have trillions of bacteria in our gut, and they're there responding to absolutely every external and internal input that comes towards it. And I think they respond to that, and we always want to blame an imbalance in our guts, but if we're not eating the right foods, if the environment isn't appropriate, if the words that we're putting into our bodies from our self-talk isn't appropriate, if we're putting chemicals or medication or additives in, our guts are going to respond to that. So they are the consequence and not the cause. And to heal that, we have to look at all the causes. And yes, that is a lot of hard work. So we don't want to do the hard work because it involves too much. We've been promised that there's fast fixes and there isn't. What other things, if I was to think about it? Our emotions, our traumas, the journey of our life, they have a significant impact on us, even to the point of impacting how we're primed for a stress response, how our mitochondria function, it impacts our bodies significantly. And if we don't have those conversations, we're missing a huge key part that helps us understand ourselves and that helps us heal. Lack of love and joy. The solution these days to health is often to do things in a more punishing way. And I think that really appeals to people because we're already being really hard on ourselves. It's very hard to trust and be kind for some reason. And it's a lot easier to embark on more and more restrictive, controlling diets and regimes and training. I don't really understand why that is, because if you really think about it, we're just being harder and harder on ourselves. And as we become harder and harder on ourselves, we're starting to squeeze ourselves into this state of absolute control. Health isn't found in that place of beating ourselves up and controlling and restricting. How could it? And yet that's what ends up happening. And for some reason, the therapists that are recommending extreme diets, the trainers that are recommending extreme diets, and the people that can do those extreme diets are applauded. Books are written about these extreme diets, and health doesn't come from that place. We need to be piling in more goodness and nourishment. We need carbohydrates for many reasons, as well as our guts needing those fibers to ferment and generate just the unbelievable symphony of things that they do for our bodies. We need proteins and amino acids, and often we need those from an animal as well as a plant source in small amounts. We need healthy fats. We need an abundance of plants. The majority of our diet should come from plants. And within that, we need a lot of variety. We need foods that we rarely eat these days to come from the sea, seaweeds, seafood. We need organ meats. It's actually about giving the body nourishment with more rather than more restriction. And I think our ethical and social dilemma these days is finding ways to do that works with our planet and with good treatment of animals, nature, and the whole ecosystem. And I think that is where we should put quite an amount of our energy in figuring out how we can support sustainable ways to bring food to the table with less waste, of supporting the people, the businesses, and local industries that are trying to bring that to us. And yes, it may cost a little bit more, but I think it's really important. So there's just a few things to think about, but I can't heal you until you start to want to go into all of these places. I can't give you a magic diet or a magic pill unless we have really honest conversations with one another about why we are where we are with our current health challenges. And they happen from the very start, from when we were in mommy's tummy and how pregnancy was for her and the stresses that went on there. In fact, we're beyond that. We're the whole journey of our ancestors, because that impacts our DNA and epigenetics. So you have to really get curious now if you want to really start on this journey of wellness. It's going to take investment. It's going to take putting yourself in a place of mattering. It doesn't mean that everything else has to fall by the way. It just means valuing yourself, your health, your healing, your energy, and making changes that are going to be more than just what goes on your dinner plate. That's how we heal. Loving yourself. It seems to be the hardest thing ever. I'm not talking about in an egotistical way. It's a quiet campaign about yourself. But as I sit and read the research, I realize that we still know so little. And despite this, our bodies are absolute miracles that will always, always try to move back to a place of homeostatic balance. In other words, health, if we start to listen and give the body what it's needing. And the body is the mind, the soul, the emotions as well. Take care, guys.